I invited my son's family to Thanksgiving. His wife replied, "We don't eat with people who can't evolve." I spent that day making food anyway. No one came. That night, I donated every toy and crib I'd saved for their kids. When they finally called back, the answer I gave changed everything. I'm a 63-year-old woman living alone in the same house I raised my son in. It's a quiet neighborhood just outside Dayton, Ohio. My husband passed away 6 years ago. Pancreatic cancer took him fast. One minute we were arguing about what to watch on TV, the next we were sitting in a doctor's office being told he had months left. He made it 3. After he died, my world got small. My son, Aaron, was my one connection that still felt alive. He was always a good kid. Not perfect, but good. He'd call at least once a week. We'd have lunch when he came to town. I clung to that. Maybe more than I should have. Then he met Candace. She worked in tech. Something remote and complicated. She was sharp. I won't lie, first impression? She was impressive. Confident. Well-spoken. Polite, but distant. Over time, I realized that wasn't just nerves. That was how she was. Everything had a tone. Every conversation with her felt like a job interview. Like she was always sizing me up, waiting for me to say something wrong. The first real crack came at Christmas a few years back. I made a big dinner. Candace walked in, took one look at the table, and asked, "Is the stuffing meat-based?" No hello, no smile. Just a checklist. I said yes. She didn't touch it. Barely touched anything. Brought her own food in Tupperware. Next year, she called ahead. Said if I wanted them to come, I had to promise not to make anything with a face. No turkey. No ham. No eggs. I didn't understand it, but I said okay. I made a meatless dinner. It wasn't great, but I tried. I even made her a vegan chocolate pie. She took one bite and said, "Did you use canned coconut milk? That brand has goo or gum. It's terrible for digestion." That stung. But I let it slide. Because I wanted to see my son. That's the part one kept holding on to. Then they had a baby. When Aaron told me they were expecting, I cried. I hadn't cried in years. I immediately went up into the attic and pulled down the old crib my husband built. Dave made it with his own hands. Sanded every inch. Painted it light blue. It held our son for 3 years. I polished it. Fixed the screws. Bought a new mattress. I found all of Aaron's old toys too. Wood blocks. Stuffed animals. I washed every single one, took photos, and sent them to Candace. Her reply? "We appreciate the thought, but we're avoiding gendered toys and vintage materials that might be unsafe. Please don't hold on to anything for us." Just like that. No thanks. No kindness. I still kept them. I stored them in the guest room. Deep down, I thought maybe she'd change her mind. Then came Thanksgiving. I called Aaron the week before. Asked if they were coming. Told him I'd cook whatever they wanted. Anything. I just wanted to see them. He said he'd talk to Candace and get back to me. 2 days later, I got a text. From her. Not him. We've decided to have our own celebration this year with people who understand where we're at in life. We don't eat with people who can't evolve. That sentence. That one sentence made everything clear. It wasn't about food. Or toys. Or ingredients. It was about me. She thought I was less. Old. Outdated. Ignorant. Useless. I didn't cry right away. I just stood in the kitchen with my phone in my hand. I stared at the stove, at the fridge, at the spot on the wall where my husband used to lean while I cooked. I cooked anyway. Out of habit. Out of hope, I roasted the turkey. Made the stuffing. Sweet potatoes with mini marshmallows. Green bean casserole. The same dishes I'd been making since 1987. I even made that dry vegan loaf again. Just in case. But no one came. I sat at the head of the table. One plate. No music. No conversation. Just the ticking of the old wall clock. After dinner, I washed the dishes. Didn't eat dessert. That night, something in me cracked. I walked into the guest room and turned on the light. I looked at the crib, the toys, the baby books. The tiny socks I had bought at the consignment shop. I picked up one of Aaron's old teddy bears and just stared at it. It felt like grief. But it wasn't for my husband this time. It was for the family I thought I still had. At 1 a.m., I couldn't sleep. I loaded everything, crib, high chair, toys, blankets, books, into my van. It took 4 trips. I didn't even cry while doing it. I was numb. The next morning, I drove it all downtown. There's a women's shelter near the bus depot. I told the woman there the truth. I saved all this for my grandchild. But they don't want it. Maybe someone here will. She took my hand and squeezed it. She didn't say anything. Just nodded. It was the kindest thing I'd felt in a long time. A week went by. Silence. Then Aaron called. "Hey, Mom." His voice was nervous. Like he was trying to sound casual but couldn't pull it off. "Candace and I were thinking of coming down this weekend. So you can meet the baby." I didn't answer right away. I waited until I could speak clearly. "Why now?" He hesitated. "I guess, we just realized family matters." I stood in the hallway staring at the photo of him as a little boy. "There's nothing here for your baby anymore," I said. "You made your choice. I've made mine." There was a long silence. Then the line clicked. He'd hung up. That was 6 months ago. I haven't seen them since. Until 3 weeks ago, when Aaron showed up at my door by himself. And what he told me changed everything. Aaron showed up on a Saturday morning. No warning. No text. Just his car pulling into the driveway like it used to when he was in college. I was sitting in the living room folding laundry. I looked out the window and saw him get out of the car alone. No baby carrier. No Candace. He looked different. Tired. Not just the new dad kind of tired. Worn down tired. His face was pale, his eyes hollow. His shoulders slumped when he saw me at the door. I didn't open it right away. I just stood there, waiting. Watching. He raised his hand to knock but stopped short when I opened it. "Hi, Mom," he said. I didn't answer. I just stepped aside. He took that as a yes. He walked in slow, like the floor might collapse under him. Sat down on the couch without being asked. I stayed standing. Finally, I said, "Why are you here?" He didn't look at me. His eyes stayed fixed on the old coffee table. The one with the scratch he made when he was 7. "I'm sorry," he said. Quiet. "I'm really sorry." Still, I waited. "She left," he said. My heart didn't jump. My stomach didn't flip. I didn't feel anything at first. Just numb again. "When?" I asked. 2 months ago," he said. "She took the baby. Said she needed space. Said I wasn't supportive enough. She's in Seattle now. With her sister." I swallowed hard. "And?" He looked up at me then. His eyes were red. "I haven't seen my daughter in 8 weeks. She won't let me FaceTime her. Won't send pictures. She says I'm emotionally unstable and too tied to regressive influences." "That means you, Mom." I didn't say anything. I just sat down across from him. I didn't defend you, he said, voice cracking. I let her push you out. Every time you tried to help or reach out, I let her shut it down. I told myself it was easier to keep peace with her than to stand up for you. I was weak. He ran both hands through his hair. I thought I was being a good husband. I thought compromising meant keeping things smooth. But I gave up too much. I let her cut you out, and then she cut me out, too. I leaned forward slowly. Why are you really here, Aaron? He met my eyes, and for the first time in years, I saw my son again, not the man she'd shaped him into. I need your help, he said. He pulled a folder out of his bag. Legal documents. Custody paperwork. Texts. Emails. She's filing for sole custody. Claims I'm not safe. That I let toxic people near the baby. She named you in the documents. Said you tried to give her outdated, dangerous items and that I exposed our child to a woman resistant to growth and modern parenting values. I stared at the folder. Then at him. I've already met with a lawyer, he said. But the judge is leaning her way. She has money. Her family's helping her. I'm not asking you to take sides, I know it's a lot. I need someone who remembers who I was. Who can tell the court I'm not what she says I am. I leaned back, folding my arms. And why would I do that? I asked. Why should I fight for a man who left me out of his life, who stood by while his wife made me feel like trash? His eyes filled with tears. But he didn't beg. He just nodded slowly. You're right, he said. I don't deserve your help. And for a long time, neither of us said a word. But then I saw something. Something he couldn't fake. Shame. Real, heavy shame. I got up and walked to the guest room. I hadn't been in there since the night I gave everything away. I opened the closet. One thing had been left behind. A small book. Guess how much I love you. I'd meant to include it in the donation pile, but somehow it slipped between the shelves. I brought it back into the living room and set it on the table in front of him. Start by reading this to her, I said. Even if she can't hear you right now. He looked down at the book and started to cry. I didn't hug him. Not yet. But I didn't ask him to leave either. That was 3 weeks ago. And just yesterday, Candace's sister posted a photo on Instagram. A photo that changed everything. And gave me an idea for a revenge I never thought I'd go through with. The photo came from Candace's sister's Instagram. I don't follow her, but a neighbor's daughter who still keeps in touch with Aaron saw it and sent it to me. It showed Candace at some kind of outdoor brunch, smiling wide, holding a mimosa. Her daughter, my granddaughter, was sitting on another woman's lap. That part didn't hit me right away. I was too focused on Candace's expression. Like she was untouchable. Like the whole world had bent to her way of doing things. But then I looked closer. The woman holding the baby wasn't her sister. I zoomed in. She was maybe late 30s, holding my granddaughter like she was her own. A gold necklace around her neck, a thin bracelet with a heart-shaped charm on her wrist. And the caption read, "Brunch with my favorite people, yellow heart, love being part of your little village, sweet girl." The account was private, but the username was tagged at angel.m. West. I showed the photo to Aaron that night. He went pale. That's Angela, he said. Candace met her in an online parenting group. They'd been getting close, but she told me Angela was just helping out with babysitting. He called his lawyer the next day. Turned out Candace hadn't just moved to Seattle for space. She'd signed a temporary lease with Angela. Shared custody wasn't her goal, she wanted to replace Aaron entirely. She's building a case that I'm irrelevant, he said. And now I'm starting to believe she planned this a long time ago. I didn't say anything, but I believed it too. I'd seen the way she operated. She didn't argue. She removed. She erased. clean and silent. Just like she did with me. So I made a decision. I told Aaron to let me handle the next part. He didn't like that. Said he didn't want me caught in the middle. But I wasn't in the middle anymore. I was already outside of it, looking in. I remembered something from a few years back. When Aaron and Candace were first dating, she used to send me articles, always unsolicited, about parenting styles, food safety, emotional toxicity, things like that. One of them had been a long blog post about ethical parenting spaces. I remembered the name, Roots and River Collective. I googled it. Sure enough, they were based in Seattle. A mix of parenting blog, online therapy portal, and new age support group. A lot of vague language. No surnames listed. But one photo showed Candace in the background, at a wellness retreat. Same smile. Same attitude. Then I clicked another tab, Contributors. Angela M. West. I scrolled through her posts. She'd written about conscious co-parenting and healing the maternal wound. One piece was called, Raising Without Paternal Energy, a love letter to single motherhood by choice. That told me everything I needed. I printed out the article. Every one of Angela's posts. I built a binder. I included the Instagram photo. The caption. The group's mission statement. Everything. Then I drove to Seattle. Aaron wanted to come. I said no. This part needed to be mine. I booked a room at a cheap motel and waited until Monday. Then I walked into the Roots and River building dressed in what Candace used to call my Sunday church clothes, plain slacks, a modest blouse, and the old gold earrings Dave gave me on our 25th anniversary. I asked the front desk to speak to Angela West. I said I was a potential donor interested in supporting single mothers. They let me in. She met me in a bright open office with lots of plants and neutral rugs. She offered me tea. I accepted. She had no idea who I was. I'm so inspired by your work, I said calmly. I'm especially interested in the children you're helping. Do you ever serve as a full-time guardian? She smiled. Polite, like Candace. Not formally. But I live with a mother and her daughter now. A beautiful situation. Oh, I said. Would that be Candace? Her face twitched. And I smiled. You're holding someone else's child, I said, low and firm. And the father is still very much alive. You're not saving anyone. You're part of a lie. She stood up fast. The fake smile gone. Who are you? I slid the binder across the desk. I'm the woman your blog says is a regressive influence unfit to nurture. I'm also a retired high school teacher. And you just gave me more than enough for a formal complaint to Child Protective Services. Her eyes narrowed. You wouldn't dare. I stood. I wouldn't need to. You left the door wide open. I walked out without another word. By the time I got home 2 days later, things were already moving. Aaron's lawyer got a call from Candace's side asking for a pause in proceedings. Angela took down her blog. The Instagram account went private. Candace texted Aaron asking to revisit the co-parenting conversation. But I wasn't done yet. Because I still had one more thing to give her. And it wouldn't be a text or a binder. It would be something she'd never forget. Aaron's lawyer called the next morning. You lit a fire under them, he said. Candace's attorney is begging for a private settlement now. They want to avoid court. I wasn't surprised. That binder didn't just show Angela was acting as a de facto guardian. It showed Candace had already emotionally replaced Aaron as a father. Judges don't like that. Not when a biological parent is present, stable, and trying. And not when there's public documentation. But I didn't want it to end with a quiet agreement and everyone walking away without consequences. That wasn't enough. Candace had torn me out of my son's life like I was a bad memory. She had made me feel small, backwards, and irrelevant in my own family. And she tried to take away my only grandchild while smiling about it at brunch. So I called Aaron. "I'm coming to the meeting," I said. He hesitated. "You don't have to, I want to." The settlement meeting was scheduled for a neutral office space in Columbus. Candace flew in. She brought her lawyer. Angela wasn't there. But I knew she was watching from the shadows, like always. When Candace walked into the conference room and saw me sitting next to Aaron, her face twisted just a little. Like she bit into something sour but couldn't spit it out in front of the adults. She didn't speak to me. Didn't even nod. Her lawyer started with a rehearsed pitch. "We believe it's in the best interest of the child to remain primarily in her mother's care while allowing the father flexible visitation." "No," I said. The lawyer blinked. "Excuse me?" I leaned forward. She cut me out. Lied to Aaron. Took his child across the country. Had another woman caring for her without legal rights. Built a fake family. And now that it's falling apart, she wants to revisit things? I looked at Candace. "You made a point to tell me I couldn't evolve. So let me show you what I've learned." I reached into my purse and pulled out copies of new documents, affidavits I'd asked my former students to write. Letters from mothers I had mentored over the years. A statement from the director of the women's shelter where I donated the baby items, saying I was one of the most selfless people they'd ever met. And then, the best one. A notarized statement from a woman who used to work at Roots and River. Someone who left quietly after seeing how Angela handled co-living arrangements. She said Angela manipulated young mothers into cutting off toxic influences so she could fill the space. Her last line read, "I watched Candace become isolated, paranoid, and totally dependent. This isn't co-parenting. This is coercion." Candace's lawyer skimmed the papers. His face turned white. Candace tried to speak then, but her voice cracked. This is character assassination." "No," Aaron said. "This is accountability." In the end, she didn't have a choice. They offered Aaron 50-50 custody on paper, but in practice, it would be more like 60-40ths in his favor. He would keep their daughter in Ohio for the school year. Candace could visit during breaks and summer. They were required to meet with a court-appointed co-parenting counselor every month, and Angela? She wasn't allowed unsupervised contact with the child anymore. The court flagged her relationship with Candace as concerning. But even that wasn't enough for me. So I handed Candace one last thing on my way out of the building. A small envelope. She opened it right there in the hallway. Inside was a photo of the old crib they built. The one she'd called unsafe. And a note, "This held a real family once. Shame you'll never know what that feels like." She didn't chase me down. Didn't scream. She just stood there frozen, staring at it, while the world moved on around her. Weeks passed. Aaron moved back into the house for a while. We took things slow. There were awkward silences. Old pain. But we rebuilt, piece by piece. The first time he brought my granddaughter over, she fell asleep in my lap after reading "Guess How Much I Love You." I looked down at her little hand curled into mine. And I knew, I hadn't lost my family. I had just taken it back from someone who never deserved to hold it. Now, every time I pass that empty guest room, freshly painted, crib replaced with a real toddler bed, bookshelf full of new stories, I feel something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger. Not grief. Just peace. Real, quiet peace. The kind that only comes when the storm has passed, and every wrong has finally been answered.